You'd think the hardest thing in the Soulsborne series would be beating the bosses. That and figuring out how to pronounce Executioner Smaug. Smaug? Smo? Smuff? No need to comment. But there's something even more punishingly, brutally tough in From Software's series of action RPGs. Figuring out how the hell to make it through the game. Because these games are packed full of obscure puzzles and weird, inscrutable requirements to progress, unlock items, get good endings, the list goes on and on and on. How anyone ever figured out the very specific and hilariously unclear steps to solving these Soulsborne problems is beyond us. But by God, we're glad they added it to the wiki once they did, so we, and you, could look up the solution. Here are 7 incredibly obscure puzzles in Soulsborne games you were never going to figure out by yourself. There were plenty to choose from, but these are our favourites, and thanks to the Xtra community for suggesting their favourites too. Enjoy and beware spoilers for Dark Souls 1, 2 and 3, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro and Elden Ring. Wow, they've made a lot of games.
By the time you get to Dark Souls 3's Ringed City DLC, you're probably thinking there's nothing more the game can do to hurt you. Painfully difficult bosses? Yeah, the DLC has them, but come on, you made it this far, you've suffered this much, bring them on! Enemies that smash you flat while you're busy talking to an NPC on the other side of the door? Whatever dude, we're like 45 hours in at this point. I feel nothing. But Dark Souls 3 has one last curveball to smash you in the face with, because in this final zone is a truly eye-watering puzzle. See, a friendly fellow called Lap has tasked you with finding something called a purging monument.
I'm rather running in circles, I'm afraid. I can't find the purging monument, and I've searched high and low.
You can search high, low, diagonally and every other direction, but you won't find Lap's purging monument either. What you will find, if you poke around, is a weird wall with some writing on it. Show your humanity. Well, humanity was a vital item in Dark Souls 1. It reversed hollowing. There's no equivalent item in Dark Souls 3, but you can reverse hollowing with a purging stone, purging monument. Hang on, I think I have a purging stone in my inventory. I think I've cracked it. Nope, did nothing. See, like all Soulsborne puzzles, the solution to show your humanity isn't designed to make logical sense. It's designed to make you waste a purging stone and then yell the word "what" as loudly as possible when you finally cave and Google the solution. The solution is to either use an item called Young White Branch or a spell called Chameleon, which accomplishes the same thing, transforming you into a piece of nearby scenery. Using this item by the puzzle won't do anything though. That of course would be way too simple. You need to leave the room, leave another, walk into a swamp, then use the item, which in this area turns you into this thing. Which might look like Baymax from Big Hero 6 drank from a cursed goblet, but is actually a humanity. So now you just need to float on back to the clue and pow! Hooray! I am so confused. The opportunities for this to go wrong are many. If you don't kill this one locust, it'll attack you and break the illusion on your way back to the message. And even if you somehow figured out that mimicry is involved in solving this puzzle, you could easily give up anyway, because while the swamp is the only place you can turn into a humanity, you won't definitely turn into a humanity. You could easily transform into, oh, say, a heap of crystals. Which of course achieves nothing, unless there's a hidden crystal merchant in Dark Souls 3 you can sell yourself to for 10 million souls or something. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me.
There's a lot of cool clothing in Demon Souls. But one set of armour you probably won't be in any hurry to try on is the Officials set, because these are the garments worn by the enemies the game calls Fat Officials, who A, are exceptionally irritating, and B, have a fashion sense that could charitably be described as deeply stupid. Ew, sashay away, official. He did. And yet wearing the official's clothes, stupid, rough and all, is the solution to one of Demon Souls' most baffling puzzles, as suggested by commenter Quilana. Said puzzle is deep within the Boletarian Palace, where if you've acquired and used a specific set of keys dropped from enemies, you can access a hidden portion of the map. Doing so requires a fair bit of exploration and backtracking, so it's not surprising that your reward for doing all this is a tower that leads nowhere. Yeah, sounds like Demon Souls. Except it doesn't lead nowhere, because there's actually an easily missed enemy official hiding in the top of this room, who does absolutely nothing unless you rock up wearing the same clothes as him, at which point he will lower a mechanical staircase to let you up, the sucker.
Hey! Thanks for laying down the drawbridge, buddy.
Having broken into the world's least secure prison, there's nothing to do but indulge in some light roleplay with the official who let you in, and presumably thinks you are his best friend and a fellow jailer.
You keep a lookout down these stairs, and I'll tell you what, I'll just move just behind you here, and I'll keep an eye on that fireplace, lest he comes down the chimney like some kind of evil Santa Claus.
This is the only way to get to Yuria, a witch who teaches advanced spells and has a cool hat. Although, amazingly, Yuria will also be fooled, somehow, by your garbage disguise.
What do you want with me?
So, to rescue her fully, you have to change outfits again.
You came to save me.
Yes, Yuria. Now, enough talk. How do I get that hat? Looted from the corpse of Yuria the witch. Okay, cut to the next entry. I don't want everyone to watch this.
You don't need to be a Dark Souls expert to know that poison is bad. Yeah, thought so. And Dark Souls 2 features just one of many poison-filled areas in the series, a place called Earthen Peak, a lofty trap-filled dungeon which is absolute wall-to-wall bullshit. The boss of this venomous labyrinth is Mytha, the Baneful Queen, a sort of mermaid Medusa who swims around in a circular pool of toxic sludge that will poison you as soon as you set foot in it. While Mytha has plenty of ferocious attacks, the real enemy here is the knee-high sludge that will keep you permanently poisoned, leaving you to fend off Mytha while trying to find moments to heal, all while your health bar drops faster than Mytha regularly drops her own head. And did we mention the poison heals the boss? All of which makes for a boss fight likely to be over before you can say, "Please Mytha, don't crush my pelvis with your powerful tail." Oh, you have. The good news is there's a way to make this fight much easier. The bad news is the solution is in a Dark Souls game, so you will never figure it out by yourself, and your time is much better spent googling ways to live with a crushed pelvis. Thanks to commenter Stomaya87 for suggesting this outrageous puzzle, which is truly bonkers. Because surely you could bounce around Earthen Peak for literally thousands of hours like a poisoned Roomba trying to find a way to drain the poison from Mytha's boss fight, and never deduce that the way you do it is to use a bonfire to light a torch, then walk up out onto this ledge that is clearly not a proper part of the level, and set light to this enormous bit of machinery that is clearly made out of metal. You might think draining poison would require turning a machine on, but you, friend, are not thinking with Soulsborne logic, because in fact you have turned off the windmill-powered infrastructure that keeps Mytha's room pumped full of fresh poison. I mean, sure. Your odds of solving the windmill puzzle solo are, it must be said, woefully slim. Even if you tried to poke around the mechanism, there's no button prompt at all if you're not holding a lit torch in your hand. On the plus side, now you can fight Mytha without having your insides corroded away by poisonous sludge. And let me tell you, buddy, ho ho, it makes the fight considerably easier. What? I said easier.
There's some debate as to whether Sekiro should really be counted as a Soulsborne game. After all, the combat is totally different, and you play as a shinobi known as Wolf, a non-customizable character capable of saying words other than "Ah!" But there is one regard in which Sekiro is totally akin to From Software's other action RPGs. Namely that it is packed full of unexplainable bullshit you have no chance of figuring out on your own. The most concentrated cluster of inscrutable nonsense in Sekiro is undoubtedly the steps required to get the return ending of the game, as commenter Claire T. Rex noted. This is the best possible ending, and comes with a laundry list of specific and impenetrable tasks as long as your shinobi prosthetic arm, mostly dished out by the divine child of rejuvenation. You'll be guzzling copious amounts of rice, for instance, and finding key items in obscure caves that are only accessible when certain quest conditions are met. For our money though, the most surreal and obscure moment in this questline is the part where you're tasked with getting 2 persimmons of the serpent for the divine child to eat. Spoiler alert, persimmons of the serpent is a nice way of saying 2 lumps of snake guts. Ugh, gross. Anyway, both the persimmons are hidden behind obscure puzzles, but the most outrageous in our opinion is the one for finding the dried serpent viscera. This key item lies in a cave beyond, what else, a poison swamp. Yeah, this is definitely a Soulsborne game. A hidden cave lies beyond the swamp, and at the back of the cave you'll find, oh-ho, a serpent. A bloody big one too. So how do you get the snake's guts? Answer, you don't. Instead, you creep along the side of the cave until you find a cowering monkey. With us so far? Okay, next equip and use a ninja skill called Puppeteer Ninjutsu, which involves ramming your sword down the unsuspecting monkey's spine. The Puppeteer skill brings enemies under your control, which in this scenario obviously means the monkey panics and legs it across the cave, which distracts the snake long enough for you to zip up to a grapple spot. Where you find the guts of a different snake altogether, or at least you do if you looked it up, because my word, none of that was remotely obvious. Oh well, at least now we're one step closer to the good ending, although can we just say it's weird that a good ending involves ramming a sword into a scared monkey's spine and then feeding the divine child so many snake entrails. They do not seem easy to digest. Stay hydrated, divine child.
The Soulsborne series is all about recurring themes and motifs, a once great city gone to ruin, a sword imbued with the power of moonlight, or dropping a big organ into a hole. Oh, come on. Seriously, it happens in Demon Souls. Look, there it goes. And it happens in Bloodborne as well, when you yank a lever that sends the brain of Mensis plummeting into a dark pit. Now, the game gives you no indication, but this is your opportunity to grab a very precious item in Bloodborne, one that's another recurring thing through the Souls series, an item or talisman that, once equipped, significantly increases the amount of blood echoes you get for killing enemies, letting you level up faster to die less. In Bloodborne, this is done by equipping runes, specifically moon runes, so getting hold of these cryptic little squares, of which there are 3 in the game total, is real important. So it is a very From Software move indeed to make the method by which you acquire one of these moon runes so inscrutable you couldn't scroot it if you were a world champion scrooter. To get the moon rune, you need to find the gloomy pit where the eyeball-riddled brain of Mensis landed after you dropped it. Then you need to do a gesture in front of it, which are the little emotes that are mostly in the game just for fun or to communicate in PvP. Now, if you're following this walkthrough, you might be wondering why doing the gesture didn't work. Well, it's because you have to hold the gesture for 60 whole seconds! That's right, you need to hold the make contact gesture for a full minute to make this work. which is about 58 seconds longer than anyone is going to realistically hold a gesture in front of a huge sloppy brain before thinking, okay, I'm stopping now, why the hell did I think this would do anything? At least spending 1 whole minute holding this ridiculous pose gives you time to reflect. For instance, on how the hell anyone figured this out in the first place. Our theory is someone stopped playing Bloodborne to use the bathroom, their cat sat on the controller and accidentally triggered the gesture, then the player came back to find their character's arms in the air like they're landing a plane and a moon rune unlocked. Or you could spend the time reflecting on the game's graphical fidelity, and quite how lavishly animated this hellish brain ball is. Oh look, the veiny texture on the sclera is subtly distinct to that covering the iris. Huh, how about that?
You wouldn't think a place called the Undead Asylum would get a lot of repeat visitors. At least not willing ones. And if you're playing Dark Souls 1, there's very little reason to think you even can revisit the Undead Asylum, which is where the game begins. A tutorial zone that teaches you the controls, and that ends with a gigantic F-off crow whisking you some 100 miles away to Lordran to start the game proper. Thing is though, you actually can go back to the Undead Asylum. In fact, when you return, it's a whole extra optional dungeon with a boss fight and a lot of important loot, including a creepy doll that is the only way to access another optional area of the game, the vast, intricate and eerily beautiful painted world of Ariamis. Needless to say, these areas represent a huge amount of time and effort in terms of level design and programming, so From Software would of course want to ensure players know it's both possible to return to the Undead Asylum, and make it reasonably likely that they'll figure out a way of doing so, right? Wrong! That was a test. Miyazaki has now been sent your name, and you are banned from ever working at From Software. The importance of making it back to the Undead Asylum is matched only by the bizarre way you do so, as commenter J_me6 remembered when they suggested this puzzle. To access the asylum, you'll need to take this lift near Firelink Shrine, but not to the destination at the top or bottom. Oh no, you'll want to roll out halfway up, onto a ledge that looks like it serves no purpose, but that despite appearances can be platformed from, if you're careful and/or patient. Onto a central structure that, if you watch your footing and explore to the very top, leads to a nest, with a button prompt, curl up like a ball. Hey, it's how I spend my weekends. Curling up gives you a new button prompt to stand up, but ignore that, because, as Miyazaki surely explained to a room full of doubtful programmers, it is totally obvious that what you should do in this situation is stay curled up for a full 20 seconds until a big crow comes and carries you away. Perhaps we're being too harsh on Dark Souls. After all, there is a clue pointing you towards this solution. See, if you talk to him about 1,000,000 times, the crestfallen warrior in Firelink Shrine will mention having seen the bird fly off with someone. There is no excuse for not finding this, especially when the game makes it so clear that this guy is up for dispensing these kinds of useful hints.
What now? I'm not up for chatting. Leave me alone.
Oh what, you thought he'd just come right out and mention a bird? I'm telling Miyazaki, he's not going to like this.
You have inherited the frenzied flame. A pity. You are no longer fit. Our journey together ends here.
Elden Ring takes everything the Soulsborne series is famous for and dials it up to 1,000,000. More ludicrous weapons, bigger bosses, and more inscrutable BS than ever before. Commenter Clumsy by Fact reminded us of the moment where Elden Ring's complex interweaving questlines arguably reach their most impenetrable point, the solution to subduing the frenzied flame. For those who don't know, the frenzied flame is what goes inside you if you happen to come across and be gripped by the Three Fingers, a terrifying embodiment of malevolent chaos that resides behind a door you have to take your clothes off to open. It's not clear what awaits players beyond this ominous door, and even less clear that if you do walk through it, your playthrough, likely dozens of hours long at this point, is now locked off from all but the worst ending. That's the ending that looks like this. Yeah, I don't want that. You could easily blunder into the three fingers, not really knowing what the consequences would be. So in an uncharacteristically kind move, From Software added an item, Miquella's Needle, that cures the Frenzied Flame so you can get the nicer endings. But in a totally characteristic move, that item is sarcastically complex to acquire, so much so that the odds of you finding it by yourself are almost zero. Although maybe we're overstating it. After all you really have to do is beat this boss, who drops an unalloyed gold needle, then find a man who wants it, or more specifically wants you to give it to this woman, Millicent, who then teleports around the map to several easy to miss locations, but you just have to talk to her at all of them until she asks you to go get her a robot arm, then go get the robot arm. And after that, it's really just a case of beating this boss and talking to Millicent in several more locations, and after that you just have to find her summon sign in the depths of the game's most difficult optional area, which appears when this mini-boss is defeated, and after that it's a simple case of being summoned in to help her kill her 4 sisters. And after that, you just need to take the unalloyed gold needle back from her before she dies, and after that you just need to defeat the hardest boss in the game, and when you've done that, you just need to reload the area and a big flower will be there now, and you can just use the needle on it to get Miquella's Needle, and all you have to do then is find the hidden trail of rocks in crumbling Farum Azula, and simply find the piece of stonework you can lay down in to get teleported to Dragon Lord Plasudasax, the second hardest boss in the game, at his throne beyond time, and then just try using the item, because here, and here only, can Miquella's Needle be used and the Frenzied Flame cured. I mean, we would have figured it out eventually.
So those were some of the Soulsborne puzzles that were so impenetrable and weird and just so around the houses that we're surprised that anyone worked them out, really. If you did work it out on your own, well done. Are you okay? Is everything okay with your life? Are you just, you know, we'll give you an internet hug. There you go. But here's a nice, easy thing you can do. You don't have to do any special tricks, and you can go and watch some more videos of us. They're right here. Look how easy YouTube makes this for us. And you can subscribe if you want to, and that means we tell you when we next upload a video. And if you want to support us, you can. We have a Patreon here, and that's also nice and simple. Take care. Hope you all, take some time to breathe after playing so many Dark Souls games. See you next time.